Good evening, all. So, today we want to discuss watching the nature of our conversations, right? Observing the nature of our conversations. Now, this might be conversations that we have in groups, or how we talk to ourselves, or conversations towards others in groups, or private one on one conversations, or in your workplace setting, or in your family groups, or in your girls group, boys group, right? Or in your social club, right? Whether it be an elite club or whether it be a street gang, right? Um, in your movie entertainment circles, in your religious slash spiritual circles, right? Watching in your government circles, in your non-governmental organization circles, right? Watching how we speak regarding others, right? Watching how we speak regarding others, meaning talking about others, meaning ill speaking others, meaning backbiting others, in all these spheres, in all these settings, right? So we are talking about creating an environment where people could be relaxed to express the way that they feel without having to, quote unquote, bite your tongue, right? Bite your tongue about this, bite your tongue about that, right? Creating an environment where people can have a safe space in all these spheres, where people could feel free to communicate their issues or communicate matters of anything without having to bite your tongue about anything, right? Creating that level of relaxed environment, right? So you don't go in a meeting feeling all tensed up, right? Or feeling like there's a gap in terms of social class or wealth or looks or anything of the sort, right? Creating an environment where people can feel free to discuss issues of whatever the topic might be going on in the scenario, right? Um, so that things could be addressed effectively, right? And part of doing that is ensuring that there is little to no gossiping, backbiting, bad talking another person, right? Nothing is wrong with venting. There's a difference between, say, venting or trying to resolve an issue than repeating the same thing over and over and over as a form of gossiping, right? Or venting, right? So there's a difference between venting and all from gossiping, from trying to resolve an issue, right? So gossiping would be like, watch how she so and so, right? Watch what she wearing. You can see how she looking. I hear so and so. You hear she was with this man. I hear she was with this girl. She was with this man. He was with this person. He was with that person, right? You are gossiping rather than being a careful informer or being somebody who approaches the person involved carefully, find out what issue, if you have an issue, right? And then talking about it with. So one of the things we want to get away from is talking about a person without a person actually being there, right? Talking about a person negatively without a person actually being there to say, hey, no, this wasn't the scenario, this is not how something, how the scenario played out, right? So that's what we're trying to get away from. Ill speaking somebody in their absence when you don't have all the information, one, and that person isn't there to be like, no, oh yes, this is how the situation played out, this is not how the situation played out, right? Um, so, right, so venting. Of course, we have workplace issues. Supervisors have issues with their employees. Employees have issues with their supervisors. Supervisors have issues with top management. Top management have issues with everybody, right? So, there's a way to communicate matters, and frankly, and I'm talking from experience and so on, again, as I usually do, there shouldn't be an issue with a low level, so-called low level in terms of range and so on, person communicating an issue with a top level person. You shouldn't have to go through all that channels. Anyway, that's a topic for another day, and that's straying from the actual topic, which is really to stay away from backbiting or gossiping in whatever sphere of influence that you may be in, right? So venting, I have a issue with how my supervisor handles something. You go to your colleague and you vent about it, right? You vent, you get it off your chest. Now, when we continuously repeat that thing over and over and over, that's sinking into our consciousness. That's where the negativity starts to perpetuate itself, right? So, we want to create a situation where when we vent about something with a colleague or whoever it may be, that one could approach the people involved directly, communicate that issue, and that person could be receptive to receiving this information, process it, and see how the change could be made, right? Rather than this repetitive thing of venting and nothing coming out of the venting, right? So it's either you take a bold decision to leave the environment, or you stay in the environment, continue to listen to whatever is being said. You could zone it out, right? So it's either you leave the environment, continue staying in the environment, let it go through, and you come out the next year. Whatever is your easiest course of action to take, in not neither of it is easy, right? But whatever it is works for you, right? Whatever it is works for you in your setting, right? But the idea is to abstain as much as possible from that kind of environment, right? Abstain as much as possible from, and if you are in that environment, abstain as much as possible, refrain as much as possible from participating in those kinds of conversations, right? If one has an issue with how somebody is, how somebody dresses, how somebody whatever, you approach that person directly and say something, right? No need to go through one sort of unnecessary bureaucratic measures to do all sorts of unnecessary things, right? Just say it. About approaching people directly, right? And people might be like, oh, this is like taking away all the fun from my environment. You can't gossip about somebody, can't talk about somebody. It's not about not talking about somebody. You could have a healthy, hearty, happy environment. You can have a healthy, happy, hearty environment without these things taking place, right? Without these things taking place. You can have a love-filled, happy, healthy, hearty environment without these communication issues going on, right? Or lack of communication issues going on, as the case might be regarding certain things, right? So gossip or backbiting is one of the things that is what might be considered, well, sin in some religions, right? I just consider it as something that's what's the word am I looking for? Is a turn off, right? Like how some people might see me and I might be looking good right now, right? And that might be a turn off for you, right? Gossiping is just like a turn off for me, right? You're engaging in that kind of thing. It's just like I talk like real hardcore gossip, right? Not like venting to a friend about something one-off incident, whatever. Like hardcore gossip is a big turn off, right? It's like, why am I even in this situation, and how did this situation find me, right? Why am I in this situation, and how did the situation find me, right? I certainly can't recall doing anything to attract a particular situation to me. So why am I in this situation, and how, and what did I do to attract this situation towards me, right? Because I can't recall, right? So some things might be unavoidable, such as like I was talking about the voices in your head. So some of them might be gossipy, talking, right? Um, some of those things you can't avoid because it's in your head, right? It's just do the necessary to quiet those quiet those voices, right? So those voices doesn't belong to me, right? So whoever it belongs to, I would just dissipate, either return to them or dissipate into the atmosphere, right? So that's the whole point about this conversation. In whatever sphere you find yourself in, try to refrain from, and it's not like trying to create a whole robotic society or anything like that, because that's the last thing I want, right? Like I say, you could laugh, you could enjoy yourself, you could eat meals together, you could have fun in an environment without engaging in these nature talks, right? Ill speaking, gossiping, all these things, right? And these things are habitual things, right? It's habitual things. Sometimes it might be a generational issue, or it might just be a bad habit, right? So this is not like a call out to anybody, or like a like I said, it's not like a condemnation of it, which, by the way, it is kind of a condemnation of it, because it is a wrong thing, right? But not in a bad way, right? So it's in a way to assist people in dealing with their own thoughts and their own situations, right? So that's basically the short message of today. Try to abstain as much as possible from ill speaking and gossip. And I smile because I see a squirrel running on the fence, and I like squirrels. Right, take care, everybody.